Welcome to the August challenge at Hangar. Since you seem to enjoy the July challenges at Ondra's playground, I'm back with another set for August, and I've got some exciting news for you all. Because I'm not able to climb the harder routes myself, I reached out to a fellow climber, Jakub Jedlička, who also shares awesome climbing videos on Instagram. And he agreed to show you the beta for climbs number 20 and up. I'm super excited about this, so I won't keep you waiting any longer. Let's get straight to climbing. I explained how challenges work in the previous video, so just a quick reminder. The routes are numbered from 1 to 30, with 1 being the easiest and 30 the hardest. I'm making a small change to how I organize the video. To give you a better idea of how I climb these routes, I keep them in order I actually did them. I still try to follow a rough chronological order so it makes sense. Let's start with the first session. I felt pretty tired and sore, even though I had 2 rest days. Though, to be fair, I was doing a lot of cleaning at home the day before, so it wasn't really a rest day per se. One of the biggest challenges was simply facing a whole set of new routes. It's always tough to motivate myself to dive into a bunch of unfamiliar climbs. Also, I'm not the biggest fan of this part of the gym. It's the newer section and I don't climb here that often. I find this part of the gym a bit intimidating. It's an open space and people can see me from all sides, which makes me feel kind of exposed. I just don't feel as comfortable climbing here compared to the other areas. I started nice and slow. When I'm feeling anxious or scared, it really helps me not to think about the hard stuff right away. I prefer to build my confidence by climbing a lot of easier problems at first. That's one of the great things about challenges. Starting at route number 1 and ticking them off one by one gives me a nice sense of accomplishment. Today I started with challenge number 1 and 2, then moved on to number 3. I skipped number 4 because route 5 was closer and I climbed a few other routes based on what was nearby and available, but I keep it in chronological order this time. That means that after the third challenge, there's number 4 and a small overhang. So I need to engage my legs, and another thing that really helps me is leaning my body and using momentum effectively. Number 5 was a 5C, so still in the beginner category, but I started to feel more aware and ready to climb with more intention. Number 6 takes you out to the right side of the wall. I skipped some holds because I didn't feel they were necessary and I wanted to save energy for harder climbs. I'm trying to manage my energy more effectively, and when it comes to the monthly challenges, I usually start with the very easy climbs, then jump to the harder ones, and return to the remaining easy routes at the end to finish the session off. Number 7. I can imagine that for a new climber, holds like these on a slight overhang could be a bit challenging. I had to be very mindful of where exactly I was placing my hands on each hold. Number 8 had a very similar style to number 4, just a bit more complex. I had to position my body even more precisely to shift my center of mass and reach higher. I used more powerful moves to get up quickly and avoid wasting energy by hanging around too long. After that, I saved routes 9 and 10 for the end of the session and moved on to number 13. And the number definitely matched how unlucky I felt while climbing it. It's not a long route, but the crux is really strength demanding. It's listed as a 6B, but it definitely didn't feel like one. I tried using my leg to push myself up on the second try, but I just couldn't make it. Maybe it's one of those climbs where next time I'll come back and it'll go easily. For now, I decided to leave it and go for something with a lower grade. I did route 11, and it felt much more like the kind of climb I need right now. There were grippy holds, a pocket, jugs, and some nice body positioning. Exactly what I would expect from a 6B. I can say this was a satisfying climb. Then I got hit with another obstacle. Challenge 12 was a crack climb. I've tried crack climbing few times in the past, and it never really clicked for me. I usually avoid it at almost any cost and just treat the structure like a regular hold. But this time I genuinely wanted to give it a proper attempt. I gave it a few tries, and when the level of frustration became more than I could handle, I moved on to route number 16. First, I fell a few times right at the start. I really struggled to keep my balance, and the left foothold felt sketchy. It took a lot of effort to convince myself that I can stand up on that hold. I didn't want to step on it at all. Only after several tries, when I realized I wouldn't slip off so easily, did I start to feel a bit more confident on it. What helped me was bracing my right arm against the structure and putting a lot of weight on it. Then I had to get my right toe up, and what really helped was looking at my foot instead of trying to place it blindly. After that, I was able to reach the top of the structure. There were 2 crimps that really helped. I felt much more secure on them because I could properly hang off them. I turned my body and pressed feet against the structure, gradually stepping them higher and higher until I was at the top of the route. The top isn't the worst hold, but it's not really a jack either. 9 and 10 felt like a bit of a break in comparison, but they were really nice 6As. Number 9 made me think about my next move, and the starting position on the sloper was a nice touch, pun intended. I liked 9 a bit more. Even so, the climb wasn't bad. The start could be tough without some flexibility, and there's a reachy section in the middle. The final move was solid. Encouraged by my success at Challenge 16, I headed over to Challenge 14. It looked like a climb in my style, and I was right. To me, it was more about balance and flexibility. I wouldn't say it was a true 6C, maybe more of a scarier 6B+. That said, in the middle I got confused and started looking for some clue about what the intended beta was. Likely, this was an alternative way to top out the route, but I decided to just touch it from the underneath, since the grip from the top didn't feel good enough for me. At the very end of session 1, I climbed number 12, just not quite the way I wanted. At first, I really focused on climbing the crack properly, but somewhere in the middle I gave up on that idea and I just used the edge of the crack as a hold to get up. It wasn't my best climb, but after 2 hours of climbing, I was ready to accept that it wouldn't be perfect. Near the top, I was super pumped and I started to get a bit shaky. I made a few mistakes and the whole thing wasn't exactly smooth. You can even see how the last move at the end almost threw me off. Overall, I'm declaring the first session a success. Just to give a sense of time, we arrived around 10:40 in the morning and left around 12:40, so we climbed for roughly 2 hours. I had slightly higher expectations for myself than what I actually managed to climb, but I could feel that I worked hard, so I didn't want to push it any further, and I was leaving with a good feeling. I'll definitely come back before I leave for a vacation, and we'll see what I can handle in a session number 2. First try on challenges number 17, 19 and 21. Didn't feel super hard at first. I used a heel hook, which turned out to be a bad idea. As soon as I let it go, I couldn't hold on anymore. Next time I tried a toe instead, and it helped, but still wasn't enough. I climbed a bit higher to check out the other holds, and I wasn't too happy to see they weren't much better. Number 19 looked exactly like the kind of climb I usually enjoy, but I underestimated it. Especially the second to last hold, there was basically nothing to grab onto. My session could pretty much be summed up by this accidentally captured time-lapse I somehow managed to film instead of a regular video. I moved on to 21, which also looked doable. But I couldn't even get the dynamic toe hook in, and I fell. Just to see what's next, I skipped the start and tried a few moves further up. The next two were fine, but then again I got stuck on a hold that just had nothing usable. So yeah, no miracles happened. This session wasn't exactly a success. I didn't finish anything from last time, and the new stuff wasn't any kinder. It was the same story during my third session. I decided to message Jakub Jedlička on Instagram, and to my surprise, he agreed to climb the problems for me and help me with the video. This is my first time commenting on someone else's climbing, so please bear with me if I get anything slightly wrong. Since I didn't climb most of the problems myself, all the info I have is based on what Jakub said while climbing. I have to say, a lot of the problems that gave me serious trouble were absolutely no challenge for Jakub. Watching him top my projects was actually really motivating. I kept trying afterward, and even though I didn't manage to climb anything myself, it was still really nice to see someone else finish it. With vacation and other responsibilities, I didn't have nearly as much time for climbing as I would hope, so the August challenge ended before I really got into shape. Luckily, Jakub managed to send most of the problems during our first filming session. We only had to film 15, 24 and 27 the next session. Jakub made challenge number 13 look like just another 6B. It brought me hope, so later I gave it a few more goes. Yet I never managed to top it. The crux was still super strength dependent, and the hold just felt too far away. I could barely touch it with my fingertips a few times. Same story as 13. I couldn't get past the crux. Every time I tried to reach for the crimp, I got thrown off. Jakub, on the other hand, held it without hesitation. The upper part of the climb then looked like an easy way to the top. That's more or less how I imagined I would climb number 17. Only I would be too scared to commit near the end, because for me it will feel quite high. Jakub, in comparison, didn't seem to hesitate at all, which makes sense. He's been climbing a lot longer, and he's climbing at different level. At number 19, I had to move really slowly on the large holds, because any wrong move would throw me off balance. Not that you could tell from that time-lapse. He made that second to last hold look solid, whereas I had no idea how to even stay on it. When Jakub was climbing, before I even realized, he was already on the top hold. I had number 20 on my list, but I never really got to it. It was another overhanging route, so I usually didn't have enough strength left to give it a go. It looked kinda reachy and powerful, but the holds didn't seem too bad. Other climbers rated it 6C+ in the app, which might suggest it's slightly overgraded. At number 21, I got some help from another dedicated climber, Petr. His beta was to reach for the tricky hold with his right hand, and I tried it too, but it just felt even harder to hold. So that move was pretty impressive to me. 22 is a 7A, a grade I should be able to climb. Yet the combination of slopers and a powerful style really isn't my thing. Holding this seems tough for me. First 7B. I tried hanging under the structure and the start actually felt okay, but pulling up, not at all. The other half was more crimpy, and Jakub said he climbed it in a more complicated way than he had to, which might explain why he fell on the first try when I was filming. So on camera he did it on the second try. This was his very first attempt on 24. At the start, he had to stay low on the structures and then reach out to the crimps, which took him longer than he would like. He climbed the first half clean, then worked the section where he fell and eventually linked it all together. It seemed really hard to stay on those big orange holes, which is also where Jakub fell. Holding on those pockets from below didn't look like an easy part either. This 7B was climbed by only 4 people according to the app. "25 took quite a few trials in total. Petr joined us, and they experimented with different ways to use a knee bar at the start. In the end, Petr managed to send the route. Big thanks to him for that. I really appreciated that drop knee at height. I was feeling tense for him at that point. I would say he really earned that top. For 26, Petr said it's pretty tricky. And it's true, only 3 people have locked it in the app. It's supposed to be a 7C. The dual texture holds on the slight overhang don't help much. Unfortunately, for 27 I don't have a full video of the descent, just footage from both halves. However, it's enough to give you an idea. Jakub came back to it for a second session, but after a tough day of climbing, he couldn't quite link the whole thing in one go. "28 is a good start, continuing over the edge, and it looks pretty finger intensive. Only 5 people have seen it according to the app. I found the toe work really striking. When Petr climbed it, he actually used a heel hook instead. "29 was the route Jakub climbed first when we met. Since it was quite demanding, he didn't want to waste energy on easier climbs. The jump was spectacular, and honestly, if I didn't know it was an 8A, I would have guessed maybe 7B just based on how smoothly Jakub climbed it. That's why it's super tricky to judge grades just from someone else's video, if you haven't tried the route yourself. Technically, it looked interesting, and Jakub told me that this one, along with number 27, was his favorite." Jakub only tried a small part of Challenge 30, as he'd already used up most of his energy on the previous climbs. So we wrap it up there. I didn't manage to publish this challenge in August, since, as I mentioned, I had a lot going on during the summer. But I still hope it'll be helpful to you. Maybe it'll even help you send some projects at Adam Ondra's playground. The routes will stay at Hangar for another month, so there's still time to give them a try. Let me know if anything in this video helped you progress, or if you discovered your own way that worked better. Once again, huge thanks, not only to Jakub, but also to his friend Petr, who climbed some of the boulders for me so that you could see the routes that I wasn't able to send myself. And also thanks so much to everyone watching these challenges. If you have any idea on how I can improve my videos, feel free to write me in the comments or on Instagram. My username is the same as on YouTube, and I try to post reels even though I spend more time filming longer videos. Enjoy this late summer, see you in the next challenge or different climbing video.